Hello, I'm Michael Frederick. I'm the Executive Director of the Thoreau Society. It's my honor to be serving all of our guests here at the annual gathering. I'm going to introduce our next session for today with the Concord Free Public Library and Special Collections. The Concord Free Public Library holds the largest and most important collection of primary Thoreau material in New England and a major archive of primary sources documenting Concord as Thoreau knew it. Today's presenter is Anke Voss, who joined the Concord Free Public Library staff as the curator for the William Munroe Special Collections in October 2019. She received a BA in history and a master's in United States political, social, and women's history from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. And she also completed her MSLS in library and information science with a concentration in archives and preservation management at the State University of New York. So without further ado, I will hand things over to Anke, who will be giving us a PowerPoint presentation. And later on in the session, please send your questions for Anke via the Q&A feature of Feedloop. Thanks. Anke?
Okay, yes. Thank you, Mike, so much for that wonderful introduction. And thank you so much to the Thoreau Society for inviting me to give an overview and point out some special features in special collections. And I'm so excited to be able to share some of those highlights with you today. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to start out with a little library history. The presence and the rich holdings of special collections are very much the results of the vision of one man, and of course, the support of the Concord community for all these years. William Munroe was born in Concord in 1806, the son of William and Martha Munroe. William was the eldest of 9 children. William Sr. was a skilled cabinet maker and pencil maker in the manner of fellow Concordian Henry David Thoreau. And the Munroes had deep roots in the community. William's great-grandfather was killed in Concord on the morning of April 19th, 1775. William Jr. was raised in Concord and was educated to attend college, but instead entered the dry goods business when he was only 15 years old. William worked in Boston as a clerk and then as a buyer. He moved to New York City, where he suffered a catastrophic setback, losing everything in 1835. He regrouped and decamped to London, where he was based from 1835 until the early 1850s. In London, William served as the overseer and buyer for a Boston import and export firm, and that is where he made his fortune. Just prior to the Civil War, William retired from professional life. He returned to Boston, living primarily in the Back Bay on Boylston Street, and he returned to his family home on the corner of Main Street and Academy Lane, right here near the library, every summer. It was at this time in his life that the idea of the library took shape. He purchased the real estate for the library in 1869 and arranged for the widening of Main Street to accommodate the library buildings, as well as for the movement of neighboring houses when Main Street was enlarged. Quite a feat, I think. Construction began in 1872, and the library was dedicated on October 1, 1873. And I love this photo because it's a photo when the construction really just finished, and the area around the library had not been landscaped, which actually, or has any grown foliage or trees and bushes. So it really gives you a great view of the building. which was, quite spectacular. Here in the next image is the rotunda as it looked in 1873 when the library opened. And for those of you who have visited the library, and I know many of you have, you know that it still retains much of its original design and character. And for that, we're so lucky and so grateful to have such a beautiful structure and building to visit. And I hope you will come back to the library if you're in town, and I'll make a plug for this a couple of times through the presentation. The library has reopened, and we're open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. through 6 p.m. And you don't need an appointment to come to the library or to Special Collections. If you just want to stop by or to come do research, I hope you do. And for those of you who are familiar with Concord and the library, you also know that we also have a branch in West Concord. And the Fowler branch was designed by architect Harry Little. And that branch was dedicated on May 18th, 1930. So I wanted to also, again, in providing context to Special Collections, to talk about another vision that Munroe had. And that was that he conceived of a very unique approach to maintaining and overseeing the library, and negotiated with officials from the town of Concord, Middlesex County, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to create a public-private partnership that still operates today. In this slide, which you can also find on our website, represents that partnership. So different stakeholders in the community have an important part in helping in operating the library, whether it's the town of Concord, whether it's the Concord Free Public Library Corporation, the Friends of the Library, or the Friends of the Library, but also the Library Committee that serves as a town committee. And so it's a partnership, a collaboration, and of course, for me, it means that we have a lot of support for the library and for the Special Collections. And I'm very grateful for the towns and the corporations' support and that of all of the other stakeholders in the community. Special Collections officially began with the founding of the Concord Free Public Library and the far-sighted request of the Library Committee at that time. And one of the members of the Library Committee was Walter Emerson and other citizens, of course. But the Library Committee, when the library was founded in 1873, asked citizens to donate material of local significance to ensure, quote, an appropriate gift of the present generation to posterity. And how lucky are we that that vision took hold. And because of that vision, we have this amazing collection. I started by sharing some of the library's history because we can no doubt thank Munroe's vision and that of the community and the Library Committee at that time for the rich resources on Concord history, including the material that documents Thoreau and his world that are held here in Special Collections today. So thank you so much, Munroe and Emerson and Concord in 1873. We're so grateful. I'm including here just a few images of how Special Collections looks today. So during COVID, I did some rearranging of the space. So for some of you who haven't been in Special Collections or the reading room, it'll look very familiar, but you'll also see some things being in different places. In the first image, and again, some of you I'm sure are familiar, we do hold right in the reading room when you walk in, the surveying compass and tripod that was owned by Thoreau. Then you also saw Cranes Rising, which is a sculpture by Anna Hyde Huntington that was donated to us in 1934. And then on the walls are various lithographs and paintings, including one of Sarah Alden Bradford Ripley by Seth Wells Cheney, which is also, again, visible just as you walk in the door. And so it's a beautiful space, and I hope I can welcome you back very, very soon. As Mike said also already in the introduction, and said it so well, the Munroe Special Collections, abundantly documents colonial, revolutionary, and the literary history of Concord, and sheds light on the full range of individuals, major and minor, events, institutions, and organizations. And we're still collecting today because there are still many wonderful Concord individuals, events, institutions, organizations that make up Concord and Concord's history, and that history continues today. And so that's an important piece to remember about Special Collections. It's a living organization and collection. We hold printed books, archival and manuscript materials, pamphlets, ephemera, broadsides, maps, photographic holdings, and fine art. And I'll be talking about that in kind of the second part of my presentation. We also hold the historical records of the town of Concord. And that includes printed town reports, vital records, directories, assessor's records, genealogical volumes, historic building files that are really chock full of really important history about not just the physical environment of Concord, but its residents. And also other related materials, of course, that researchers like you will be looking for and looking into to study Concord's past. As most of you will know, most of Special Collections, or much of Special Collections, is cataloged online, while you can see content on our website as well. If you search the Minuteman Library Network catalog, so that's the catalog for our consortium, or you search OCLC or Arlen, so WorldCat, as some of you will know it as, our records, our finding aids, our books, and a lot of other, not just our primary source collections, so our finding aids, but also our secondary materials, of which we have a lot. And of course, selected material, again, our finding aids are on our website, but also in some of our exhibits. And there I should make a note for those of you who visit our website frequently. We are in the process of reorganizing some of that web content, refreshing some of the content, and we're also launching very shortly a new exhibit platform called Omeka Classic. Some of you who work with museums might be familiar with Omeka. It's also used by many academic institutions, and we're really excited to highlight a lot of the content in our collection there. So now specifically to material about Thoreau. The Concord Free Public Library, of course, holds the largest and most important collection of primary Thoreau material in New England. It is the major archive of materials documenting Concord as Thoreau knew it. The Concord Free Public Library holds a major collection of Henry David Thoreau's papers, including some 200 of his manuscript surveys in a volume of his surveying field notes, a collection of Thoreau's family correspondence, Helen Thoreau's anti-slavery scrapbook being a highlight, and a number of other collections offering materials generated by or relating to various members of the Thoreau family. The library's Concord Authors Collection contains two extensive Thoreau collections, the H.D. Thoreau Collection and the Hosmer Thoreau Collection, and the former composed of various gifts and purchases, the latter assembled by Alfred Winslow Hosmer, who you'll learn a little bit more about later in my presentation. The collections include first and later editions of Thoreau's writings, collected editions, items to which Thoreau contributed pieces, and biographical and bibliographical and critical works about him. And that collection is, of course, growing because you are all contributing to it by creating more works about him. And so that's wonderful. And, you know, we try to be on top of what is being taught, what content is being created. But if by chance you have written something and created content that maybe we may have missed or have not been aware of, maybe you search our catalog and go, oh, they don't have my article, or they don't have the monograph that's put together or contributed to, you know, please contact me and let me know if you're interested in donating something to add to our collection of secondary material, because of course it is an important resource for anyone doing research. One of the major literary manuscripts we have, of course, is Thoreau's essay Walking, that initially appeared in the Atlantic Monthly shortly after Thoreau's death. And, you know, please, it's here to be viewed and admired, whether for a few minutes or for hours of research. And again, I welcome anybody to just spend some time admiring that beautiful and really important holding in our collection. We also hold over 200 manuscript and land property surveys, as I said earlier. And of course, one of the more iconic surveys that we have in the collection is this survey of Walden Pond in the winter of 1846. And yes, I'm just going, we can just look at it for a minute because it's quite beautiful. I should also remind everybody that all of those surveys have been digitized and are available to view on our website. So I encourage you to check them out there as well. So I just wanted to spend a little time talking about a few very unique highlights of collections that we have that document Thoreau and Thoreau's Concord. And I think, so I'm just gonna highlight a couple collections that I just think are just, you know, exceptionally unique. And so one of them is the correspondence to Alfred Winslow Hosmer relating to Henry David Thoreau. And this collection dates from 1849 to into the 20th century. The bulk of it, however, is from 1890 to 1903. Who is Alfred Winslow Hosmer, or Fred? In the 1890s, Concord storekeeper Alfred Winslow Hosmer assembled an extensive Thoreau collection. His sustained collecting efforts were driven by an ardent desire to fan the flame of interest in the author and was based on an intimate familiarity with his world. Hosmer was a lifelong resident of Concord, Massachusetts, and a member of one of Concord's oldest families. He made his living as a clerk and later owner of a dry goods store, but also as a photographer. Hosmer was one of Concord's most accomplished photographers, and his images captured the people, houses, institutions, and landscapes of the town, including many locations associated with Thoreau. Hosmer's intimate knowledge of Concord's people and landscapes and his association with Thoreau, which included collecting Thoreauviana, allowed him to develop an in-depth knowledge of the man and his work. As a result, Hosmer formed a collaborative relationship with Dr. Samuel Jones, a Thoreau scholar, and Henry S. Salt, a Thoreau biographer, of course, well known to you. This correspondence collection to Hosmer includes letters that reflect his knowledge of interest in his life and work of Henry David Thoreau, in particular his efforts to illuminate Thoreau's work and establish his reputation as an author, naturalist, and a philosopher. Those whose letters are contained in the collection include Henry Salt, Louisa May Alcott, John Burroughs, E.R. Hoare, and Walton Ricketson. A large portion of the collection contains the letters of Dr. Samuel Jones, who worked closely with Hosmer in their mutual desire, again, to see Thoreau recognized. So the next item that I think just is so exceptional that every time I pull it out, I find something new to admire and explore. As you know, the first edition of British social reformer and writer Henry Stephen Salt's Life of Henry W. Thoreau appeared in 1890. In 1896, Salt revised and republished the biography in abbreviated form, cutting many long passages quoted from Thoreau's works. Salt also made needed corrections in the book, incorporating much information he had received from, among others, Alfred Hosmer, and again, other American correspondents. What's more remarkable is between 1896 and 1903, Hosmer gathered numerous Thoreau-related items to add to the 1896 one-volume second edition, the pages of which Hosmer disbound and mounted and bound in 2 volumes, incorporating the added materials. These editions relate primarily to people and places mentioned in Salt's text. Added items are mounted on pages facing the appropriate text. These 2 volumes are here in special collections. Hosmer added photographs, many of them his own work, annotating them by hand with quotations from Thoreau. He also incorporated letters and pieces of manuscript. The volumes include a manuscript school composition by Thoreau, the Seasons, a certificate of surveying by Thoreau, receipts signed by Thoreau's father John, and letters to various correspondents by H.G.O. Blake, W.E. Channing, Emerson, Horace Greeley, Parker Pillsbury, and Daniel Ricketson, and Maria Thoreau, and Sophia Thoreau, and others. What's also wonderful, and as you see in the slide in front of you, Hosmer also bound in his own manuscript index to the added materials in the volume. So again, just a very unique item, and just so rich with information about not just Thoreau, but also Hosmer's interpretations and attempts to highlight certain parts of Thoreau's biography and life. And so again, so very unique. And I again hope if you have a chance to stop by Special Collections, that you'll come and view these 2 volumes. So another part of our collection that, again, I think many of you are, of course, familiar with. Of course, because not just because you've seen it by visiting Special Collections, but because these images also exist in many published works, including the 1906 edition of the works of Thoreau. We also hold, of course, major photographic collections, especially the glass plate and film negatives by Herbert Wendell Gleason, a major American landscape photographer who purposefully captured the locations, the wildlife, and the plants that Thoreau had known and about which he had written. Houghton Mifflin used some of these Gleason images to illustrate the 1906 manuscript and Walden editions of Thoreau's writings. And again, as many of you, of course, know, Gleason himself researched the map of Thoreau's Concord that's included in the 1906 edition. His photographs also appeared in Through the Year with Thoreau that was published by Mifflin in 1917. The result of Gleason's sustained interest in Thoreau and in Concord was an exhaustive and meticulous identified visual archive of Thoreau's work, now held primarily here in the Concord Free Public Library. And the image that is on the screen right now is sun sparkles, of course, on Walden, which he took from Haywood's Peak, which Gleason took in 1920. And Mike, in a previous meeting, and I don't see your screen right now, but I noticed that you have a enlarged version of this image in your office, I think. So it's very recognized and of course, very beautiful and has been shared widely. But again, it is just one of hundreds, thousands, actually, images of Gleason that is in our collection. And I should also mention that, especially now that we have this new platform, Omeka, that is really a very exceptional platform for sharing digital content, that it won't happen, in the next week or month, but I am working with the Special Collections Committee of the Library Corporation, who work closely with me in setting policies and procedures and developing long-range plans for special collections. And we have every intention, hopefully within the next year, to make all or a large content of these Gleason images available online on our new platform. So again, we'll update you soon about that. And I cannot wait to make many more of these images available. As you know, and thanks to my predecessor, Leslie Wilson, and the work that she has done, not only to acquire, but also to take steps to preserve these images. The glass plate negatives are, very well housed, and of course have been microfilmed. And so the process of taking the images off the film and then being able to migrate them to Omeka is still a tedious process, but a lot of the work has already been done for me in order to make this project go to the next phase. So I'm really grateful for the work that Leslie did to take steps to make these available. Another Gleason collection that, again, is quite unique are his slide lecture called Thoreau's Country. And they are lectures by Gleason on Henry David Thoreau's Concord and surrounding areas. And what they are hand-colored glass lantern slides. And there are 92 of them, and they're primarily of Concord, and they're for his lectures that he gave on Thoreau's Country. And each one of those glass lantern slides is individually labeled by Gleason himself, with accompanying inventories and lecture notes that are part of his collection. And also manuscript biographical notes on Thoreau, and type quotations, primarily from Thoreau's, to accompany the slides in the lecture, in number to match the slides. So again, they provide, of course, documentation about Thoreau, but again, also provide a window into Gleason and how Gleason sought to interpret Thoreau, and also how or what he chose to highlight and why, and how in these lectures. And so again, it is a really wonderful and unique resource that is also a collection that hopefully will be made available online soon, as we work through these projects and prioritize the different steps. Again, also, and final note on those slides, the bulk of the slides for the lecture were prepared sometime between 1915 and 1917. That's when these images were taken. So I wanted to finish off or continue my presentation to talk about some other parts of the collection that I think are equally significant because they, again, tell an important part or an important story about the library and its role of documenting Concord and Thoreau's Concord. Special collections, in addition to holding manuscripts and archival records and materials and including images, is also responsible for curating works of art and artifacts. And we have about 200 items, which can be found throughout the building, including public and staff areas. So there are actually some amazing pieces that currently are not viewable by the public unless you know that they exist and maybe not on someone's office. So some of them can be viewed in person, like various busts of significant figures, including Thoreau and the life-size sculpture of Seated Emerson by Daniel Chester French in our rotunda. And there again, you see a picture of the rotunda that's closer to how it looks today. The bust of Henry David Thoreau by Walton Ricketson, which was a gift of the artist to the library in 1898. And of course, Louisa May Alcott, which was created in 1892, also by Ricketson. In the reference room, and again, I'm just pointing out a few special items, you'll also find another work by Daniel Chester French. This bust of Walter Emerson, carved from the original model by French in 1879. And I'm sure you have heard this anecdote, but I think it's just so wonderful. Walter supposedly said it was his favorite and looked like the face that he saw in the mirror and shaved each morning. This particular painting is, of course, also really significant. The Philosopher's Camp in the Adirondacks by William James Stillman is probably one of our best known works here in the library. The painting shows a visit by the so-called Adirondack Club to the Adirondack Wilderness in 1858. The club was an offshoot of the Saturday Club, a Boston club to which Emerson, Hawthorne, and other major 19th century literary and intellectual figures belonged. This painting is currently on loan to the Smithsonian American Art Museum for an exhibit on Alexander von Humboldt in the United States, Art, Nature, and Culture. And last October, I had the pleasure of interviewing the exhibit's curator, Eleanor Harvey, the chief curator at the Smithsonian American Art Museum, for a new virtual series I launched during our closure because of the pandemic, and it's called Concord Stories. And in her presentation, Eleanor focused on the significance of the painting in her exhibit on Alexander von Humboldt and the relationship with the Concord transcendentalists and Humboldt. You can view her presentation on Two Concord Stories and her conversation with me on our website under a tab called Concord Stories, under the tab that's called Special Collections. And I encourage you to check that out and to learn more about Alexander von Humboldt and the Transcendentalists. It's a rich and important story, and Eleanor Harvey is an exceptional historian and interpreter of this history. And you will, be awed by her knowledge and by her presentation. And you'll also see on the website some links to the exhibit at the Smithsonian, which reopened in May of this year and is open throughout the summer. So if you're going to Washington, D.C. Anytime soon, I encourage you to check out the exhibit and view our painting that is on display there now. And but if you cannot go to Washington, Eleanor Harvey recorded a tour that she gave of the exhibit. So it's actually really special because she, as the curator, is walking you through the exhibit. And that tour is not on our, there's a link on our website, but you can also find it by just, you can just Google Alexander von Humboldt in the United States, Art, Nature, and Culture at the Smithsonian, and you'll have a landing page, and there are links to her various presentation, including her curated tour, which, as I said, is quite spectacular. And finally, I just wanted to talk about a few really special artworks that we also have here in Special Collections. As you know, N.C. Wyeth was one of the 20th century's most popular illustrators, and said that Henry David Thoreau's writings were, quote, the springhead for almost every move I can make. He broadly promoted Thoreau's ideas at a time when most people remembered Thoreau as simply a naturalist. Wyeth's culminating efforts to honor his personal mentor was the creation of an illustrated book of Thoreau's journal entries, published in 1936 by Houghton Mifflin as Men of Concord and Some Others, as portrayed in the journal of Henry David Thoreau. In 2016, the 12 original panels of N.C. Wyeth's painting for the book, Men of Concord, were brought together for the first time here in Concord in nearly 80 years in a joint exhibit with the Concord Museum. The scene on the cover that you see on this slide is the only one of the Men of Concord illustrations that N.C. Wyeth did that is not based on a journal entry. And only two of the figures can be identified with certainty. A young Thoreau in brown jacket and black tie who looks directly at the viewer, while Walter Emerson, wearing a tall hat, stands next to him. The doorway recalls Concord's architectural heritage, but does not seem to have been drawn from a specific source. But we have in our collection several of the original panels of N.C. Wyeth. And the first one is in front of you, of course, at the Muskrat Hunters. And they, again, is one of the panels illustrating Thoreau's journals. And this particular entry was from 1854. And the quote, "Remembering my voyage on May 1st, and Goodwin and Haynes hunting, you might have passed up and down the river 3 or 4 miles and yet not have seen one muskrat, yet they killed 6 at least." The next panel in our collection, Fishing Through the Ice, refers to, and again, I'm only reading a partial entry of the journal that he used to illustrate that particular painting. This one is from February 8, 1856. Quote, "Edward and Isaac Garfield were fishing there, and Puffer came along, and afterward Lewis Minor with his gun. He cannot get near the partridges on account of the cracklings of the crust. I saw the last 2 approaching with my glass." The next panel illustrates an entry on February 28, 1860. "Passed a very little boy in the street today who had an homemade cap of a woodchuck skin, which his father or elder brother had killed and cured, and his mother or elder sister had fashioned into a nice warm cap." And then there are 2 more. This one of Hubbard's Bridge refers to an entry of August 17, 1851. All men's employments, all trades and professions, in some of the aspects are attractive. When I saw the carpenters the other day repairing Hubbard's Bridge, their bench on the planking they had laid over the water in the sun and air, with no railing yet to obstruct the view, I was almost ready to resolve that I would be a carpenter and work on bridges to secure a pleasant place to work. One of the men had a fish line cast round a sleeper, which he looked at from time to time. And the final panel that is in our collection is from a journal entry on November 13th, 1851. And I love this entry so much. Just spent a couple of hours, 8 to 10, with Miss Mary Emerson at Holbrook's, the wittiest and most vivacious woman that I know. Certainly that woman among my acquaintance whom it is most profitable to meet, the least frivolous, who will most surely provoke to good conversation in the expression of what is in you. She is singular among women, at least, in being really and perseveringly interested to know what thinkers think. And again, if you stop by the Concord Free Public Library, these panels by NC Wide are on view. And I hope on your next visit to the library, even if you have seen them before, you'll take another look. Finally, I wanted to conclude, as I said earlier, we are a living collection in that, we are documenting Concord today, but there are still in the world out there among collectors, among families, items that are extremely important, and their addition to our collection make it an even richer collection. And so I want to highlight a portrait that was donated this past year on behalf of the Brooks Hoare family. And it is a painting of Elizabeth Sherman Hoare. And the painting is a donation. On the left side, I included an image from our collection of Elizabeth as a younger woman. But Elizabeth Hoare, daughter of Samuel Hoare and Sarah Sherman, was born on July 14, 1814. She was a schoolmate of Thoreau's. And when Nathaniel and Sophia Hawthorne moved to the Old Manse in Concord, Elizabeth and Henry created a vegetable garden to welcome them. She was engaged to Charles Chauncey Emerson, who was her father's law partner and the older brother of Walter Emerson. His death in May 1836 from tuberculosis occurred before they could get wet, unfortunately. But her relationship with the Emersons continued, as she would be known as Aunt Lizzie by Walter and Lillian Emerson's children. She was a member of the Transcendental Circle, preparing copy for the Dial, and assisting Sophia Thoreau and Ellery Channing in collecting Henry David Thoreau's posthumous work. I want to thank you for your time and remind you that we are currently open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. And thank you again to the Thoreau Society for inviting me today and giving me the opportunity to share some highlights from special collections. And I hope to see you soon. And I'm happy now and in these last 15 minutes, if you have questions, I am happy to answer them. And yeah, there we go. Thank you so much.
Hi, Anke. Thank you so much for your presentation and for inviting us all into special collections and sharing with us your expertise. It was really interesting for me anyway to see the biography of Henry Salt, who helped to introduce Thoreau's works to Gandhi. So there's a nice connection there. So there are questions from our audience.
Sure, sure. I hope I can answer them.
Well, one person asks, because of the Gleason collection,
Yes.
at the library, I just might give a shout out to Dale Schwee, who wrote a book on Gleason as a landscape photographer.
Yes, and he and I have been in touch, and I think he contacted me within the first few months of starting my work here. So so I'm very well aware of this important work. So go ahead.
I mean, the importance of special collection library to Thoreau Society members and Thoreau scholars over the years has been legendary. You know, we remember Marcia Moss, and we remember Leslie Wilson, and we know and work with you. So, so one person asks, does the library have the Gleason map of Concord?
Sure. Yes. Yes, and we have, and I mean, I guess that's something I should probably even brought up too. And you can find the listing of our maps on our website. We have a remarkable collection of maps in our collection. And they are quite comprehensive. And again, there's a listing, there's both, there's a map collection, finding aid, but then there's also one that's especially oversized maps. Yes, and I think there's actually some additional map collections. Of course, there's Gleason's map, but Ruth Robinson Wheeler drew up various maps based on her research on early Concord that are really sketches, but they're quite remarkable as well. So, and not all of them, just because they are manuscript form, essentially, are not included in all those descriptions, but they're certainly available to view.
Excellent. It would be great to get in there to view that. There's also the Gleason Gazetteer, which is a book, and I believe the Concord map is included within that. Somebody asks how best to arrange a visit to special collections.
You are welcome to send an email if you want to plan a visit and have specific requests, maybe want to make sure that certain things exist and are available. So I encourage you to email me ahead, but you don't have to make an appointment. We are here every day, Monday through Friday. And so again, advanced appointments or emails to talk about, your research and what we can get ready for you. Because I think, when you come to a special collections, your time is valuable, right? And so if we can get materials ready for you ahead of time, that means that you can spend your time, from the moment you arrive, delving into the material. So yes, I encourage you to email ahead or give me a call, and I'm here Monday through Friday. And again, our hours these days are 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I do have actually, as of a week ago, a colleague that is going to be working starting full time, who has been assisting me over the last year. And I should give a shout out again to her. She's currently on vacation, but Jessie Hopper, and she is going to be working as the special collections assistant and will be here full time. And so the two of us will be here and ready to assist you.
Great. And I will point out too, for our audience, that the website, the Concord Free Public Library website, has a link to special collections, and it's a great resource, and I encourage you to view that. Another person says, well, this has been a fascinating talk, and they're wondering if the glass slides that we saw are hand colored or painted.
Yeah, I mean, they are hand colored. I mean, I don't know exactly the, yeah, I mean, they are according to the finding aid. And, you know, from what I can see, they are, you know, hand colored. And I think, I assume they were, yeah, they are hand colored. And they're beautiful. I cannot wait to, and put them online so lots of people can view them. So that's, again, I'm very, very interested. And you know, I have the support of the Library Corporation, for which I'm grateful, that, you know, we are going to work really hard to selectively, of course, because everything takes time and resources, but to think about some of the materials that are currently hidden in a way because of their format, you know, like images, and that they would be so so remarkably wonderful if they could be made available for people to view. So you'll be just amazed, because they're about, the recent collection, it's about 7,000.
Wow,
Yes,
that's amazing.
so it's not just Concord. I mean, he was a landscape photographer throughout the United States, and so the collection has, you know, great significance
So there,
to Thoreau country.
so there are definitely many, many, many more than appeared in the 1906 Houghton Mifflin.
Oh yes, oh yes, yes, yes.
Well, that's great to know. I think one year I saw an oil-powered lamp that you can view. Of course, you never want to do that, but an oil-powered lamp that the Special Collections has for viewing such glass plates. That was really fascinating just to see that. So Thoreau had a constant walking companion, and his name is Ellery Channing, and we have a member who's wondering what's in Special Collections that might relate to Ellery Channing and Henry David Thoreau.
So we do have, I don't have the knowledge of that, intimate knowledge of that collection, but there's definitely material, a collection of Channing's in the collection, and correspondence with you know, other residents and you know, friends and colleagues in Concord and beyond. So again, I don't have the guide in front of me. If the interested person would like to just email me, I will email right back and send him or her to the links to the collections.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question. If Thoreau refers to his walking companion, who's, we speculate, is often Ellery Channing, and I don't know that there's a lot that we know about Channing. We have the biography that he wrote about Thoreau, and in the middle of it, he inserts a large poem of his own that's in that book. And I'm not sure that necessarily sheds a lot of light on their you know, on their relationship or not.
Right.
It's been so long since I've picked that up. And of course, Ellery Channing is buried at the Author's Ridge.
Right.
So there's that connection. So another person asks, how do you both preserve the collection and allow it to be handled by the public?
Well, you know, you have to be, obviously have to have protocols in place that materials are handled properly. But I have the very, very strong belief that the reason why we preserve materials of historical significance is that they be available to be viewed and used. That is their purpose. Providing access to them is the purpose of having an archive, because locking things away does not provide enough reason for us to keep things. It's that we want to share those riches with our community. So again, we of course have protocols in place of handling materials, and occasionally there will be some material where we will have to say that while certain items cannot be viewed, or you need to view a facsimile or a digital surrogate of a particular item, but or sometimes maybe it's an item that I will say, I'll handle this while you view it, but I think I would always see that I can make something available, even if it's limited. But I will make every effort to share what is here in Special Collections, because I'm a steward of the collection to preserve it, but also that stewardship also includes making it available. I think those have to exist together. So we will always make sure that these incredible resources are preserved, because we also, of course, want to make sure they're available in 100 years.
Right. I know when I took Jane Gordon's town guide course, Concord Town Guide course, and became a certified town guide, we had the opportunity to come into Special Collections and look at the walking manuscript, which I think I had seen many, many years before, but that was certainly a wonderful experience. And I'm sure that's continues each year with the Concord guides.
Yes.
They come in and are able to take a look at that manuscript.
Right. So unfortunately, because of COVID, we were closed almost the entire time. We were open for about 3 months last summer and early fall, but we closed on March 13th, and we reopened fully on May 19th. But because of that, of course, we had fewer physical visitors, but lots of visitors virtually. And we made lots of materials available to researchers digitally. So probably some of you among the audience, so you could continue your research. And again, whether it's due to COVID or because, it's not always easy to travel, that we will make every effort to connect you to the resources and provide access in any way we can.
Well, we have just a minute left, so I'm going to help us wrap things up. And I want to say again, Anke, thank you so much for hosting us today at the library. It's been enlightening, and really appreciate the collaboration that we have with the Concord Free Public Library and Special Collections.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. And thank you again to the Thoreau Society for inviting me. And I hope to see you in Special Collections.
Yes.
Thank you so much.